St. Louis sports fans, go deeper with STL Sports Central Insiders. Get exclusive access to Bernie, Randy, Claves, Jamal Mayers, and more. Plus, your chance to watch a Blues game in the alumni box with Jamal himself. Monthly giveaways, Bernie's columns all week, and support for local sports media. Join now at stlsportscentral.com.
Hello again, and welcome to the Bernie Show here on STL Sports Central, presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. I'm Bernie Miklasz. You probably know me, but in case you don't, I've been writing and talking about St. Louis area sports, including the colleges, since 1985. You can catch me here at STL Sports Central with daily weekday videos and columns, and I also visit with my friend Randy Carricker on his show, which is always fun. You can hear me frequently throughout the week on multiple shows on KMOX, FM, and AM. So thank you for your support. All right, today's topic, Cardinals manager Oli Marmol will return for his fifth season, but he will be facing a different kind of pressure in 2026. When I talk about a different type of pressure, I will explain, believe me. Pressure that is different from being disliked by fans, pressure that is different than basing everything in terms of the way he's judged based on how many games you win and how many games you lose, which in normal times would apply, but not so much now after a reset season in 2025 and now a full-on rebuild starting in 2026. And when you're in a rebuild, expectations are low, and they will be low for the 2026 Cardinals. So the natural conclusion is to think, well, that takes a lot of pressure off Oli Marmol. No, I don't think it does. There are different types of pressure. And as I said at the top, Marmol is going to have to deal with a different kind of pressure in 2026. He's got a new boss, Chaim Bloom. Now, some of you are going to say, well, Chaim Bloom likes him, and there was even talk about a contract extension. So why would Chaim Bloom taking over mean more pressure for Oli Marmol? Well, please listen up, and I'll try to explain that. Bloom is a radical change from John Mozeliak, who hired Marmol after sacking Mike Shildt a few days after the Cardinals were eliminated in the 2021 wildcard game. Listen, man, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I still laugh at people who believe Marmol was a puppet who obediently followed Mozeliak's orders. That's all I heard, because that's the best that these people could come up with, and just over and over and over again. And frankly, no offense intended, but that was kind of lazy. Because if anything, the opposite was true, because Mozeliak didn't give orders. That might have been part of the problem. He let Marmol fill out the lineup and make the decisions on his own. Mozeliak was not a dictator. Marmol wasn't on his own in one way because he was stuck with the rosters put together by Mozeliak. That was Mozeliak's influence, the type of team that he gave the manager to work with. And except for 2022, when Marmol won 93 games in the NL Central, he's never had a roster that looked like a winner. When he did have that roster, he won. Not in the playoffs, but, this is hardly a unique thing. The Cardinals have struggled to win in the playoffs really since the start of the 2015 season. For the last three seasons, the Cardinals have had thin starting pitching, limited power in their lineup. They've had younger hitters who were overhyped by the organization to try to keep the fans believing that things were looking good. Their starting pitchers struggled to prevent runs. Their hitters struggled to produce runs. And over the last two seasons, 24-25, based on run differential and other underlying factors, the Cardinals actually won 10 more games than they should have over those 2 years. And the number one reason for that, despite what the haters will say, Marmol's excellent handling of the bullpen enabled this team to, as thin as it was in terms of talent, this team had a great ability to protect late leads, which is why they won more games than they should have. Now, listen, I don't want to give anybody a stroke. I'm not saying Marmol is a great manager. Not at all. I'm not saying that. I don't think he's had a chance to show that all that much. And that 2022 playoff flop didn't help, but he was a rookie manager. But I do know that he is better than many of his critics insist. And I do know, and I strongly believe that the widespread hatred over John Mozeliak carried over to Marmol. I mean, the stench landed on him just because people hated Mo so much. But Mo ain't around anymore. He's gone from this organization, for the first time since 1995. John Mozeliak is not in the house. Bloom is a much more advanced and forward-looking in his thinking, and that should benefit Marmol, who had to deal with the Cardinals' outdated operation, the collapse of the farm system, and just the overall internal rot. Yeah, but that also means with Bloom in charge, there's going to be more expected of Marmol when the Cardinals get into position to win again, and they're stocked with a lot of really good young talent. But that part, the improvement of the roster construction, is up to Bloom, and it's going to take some time. Bloom's already shown that he knows how to renovate and upgrade a farm and player development system that is thriving right now since he took over. But the hard part will be elevating the talent on the big club and getting enough players on the big club to get the team back into the playoffs. And that's going to take time, no matter how many people kick and scream. But as a manager, this is going to be a whole new world for Oli Marmol, and I'll explain why. I firmly believe it. I'll explain why I am saying this, and I'll get to that when I return for my second segment of today's Bernie Show. First, the NFL playoffs are about to start, which means it's time for you to head on over to DraftKings, their DraftKings Sportsbook app. If you haven't done it already, do it, because the crown is yours. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, makes every playoff moment feel even bigger. I've been talking about individual games this week on the Bernie Show. I've already shared my thoughts on the Bills playing at Jacksonville and the Packers playing at Chicago. So let's look at another matchup, shall we? I am intrigued by the Rams at the Panthers game for one reason. On Wednesday morning, DraftKings listed the visiting Rams as a 10.5-point favorite at Carolina. And if that ends up being the final spread before kickoff, the Rams would be the biggest road favorites in terms of the spread in NFL postseason history. So this is a unique type of game from a wagering standpoint. The early majority of the point spread bets at DraftKings Sportsbook came rushing in on Carolina. So the opening line, which was Rams minus 10, was adjusted to Rams minus 10.5. That's how it works. The Panthers beat the Rams 31-28 during the regular season, which was a shocker. That was played on November 30th in Charlotte, and that upset is not easy to erase from the mind because it's fairly recent. But the odds makers aren't concerned about what happened on November the 30th, and I agree that you shouldn't worry about it. Carolina is nothing special, to say the least. They lost 6 games by double digits this season. But I know the casual bettors are believing that Carolina will knock off the Rams again because it's the same venue. Hey, they did it before. But the Panthers were boosted by 3 LA turnovers in that game, even though the Rams dominated play otherwise. It was just one of those days. It was a letdown day that came after the Rams had won 6 straight, and they probably went into that game not quite as sharp in terms of, hey, we're going to be in for a dogfight. We're going to have to be ready for this one. It was probably just a letdown spot. Listen, this former St. Louis Rams are smart and very well coached, in their postseason preparation and mindset will be much sharper than what we saw when the teams played earlier. Carolina has the worst point differential of any team in the playoffs. The Panthers were 8-9 during the regular season, and they just barely won the league's weakest division. And I mean, that was a terrible division. The Rams are on another level. But quarterback Matthew Stafford turned the ball over 3 times in that regular season loss in Charlotte, and that made all the difference. And even then, the Panthers only won by 3. I'm confident Stafford ain't going to do that a second time. So I'm going to take the Rams to cover. They're hungry to prove they can win the NFC title. The fact that they lost to the Panthers even underlines even more the fact that they're going to be absolutely ready for this one because they ain't going to lose to the Carolina Panthers again. I think the Panthers will see the Rams at their best in this one, and I like the Rams to cover. Hey, DraftKings has your back with early exit protection. If a player in your eligible NFL prop bet during the playoffs goes down at any point in the first half, you still get paid in cash. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or call ccbg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 plus in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, call dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
Okay, welcome back to the second segment of today's Bernie Show. I think it's an interesting topic. I guess you'll let me know if it is or not based on how many of you watch this. But I want to go deeper into my opinion that Oli Marmol faces a new kind of pressure, might even be a more daunting kind of pressure as the Cardinals manager in 2026. No, he's not expected to win much, but that's not the point. The pressure points are coming from all other areas. Unlike Mosaic, Chaim Bloom fits the newer template for baseball front office leadership. He will be involved in a collaborative effort with the manager to determine the smartest way to utilize talent on a game-by-game basis, and that includes lineup options based on who the other team's pitching, things like that. By the way, this ain't nothing new. I know that we tend to be stuck in the past here in St. Louis when it comes to baseball, and that's okay. It's not the only town that you can say that about. It may be new where the front office and the manager work closely together, even to the point where they discuss what should be done in that day's game. So it may be new in traditional old school St. Louis, but the truth is the Cardinals are way behind the times because it ain't new anywhere else. So the Cardinals have to adjust and catch up. So the most successful teams in baseball use advanced stats analytics, specialized leadership to maximize their winning potential. Before each game, Dodgers manager Dave Roberts sits down with colleagues from upstairs in the front office. Might be an assistant general manager, might be someone from the analytics department. It might be someone who has the information that they want to share with Roberts. And they have a pregame visit to discuss personnel choices, defensive setups, bullpen scenarios, and specific performance trends that could give or should give the Dodgers an edge in that day's game. The Dodgers have been doing that for years and years, and they are hardly alone because that's where most teams are in 2026. And the Cardinals are finally getting with it. The low payroll Brewers, for example, I just love this story. I did laugh out loud, but for a positive reason, not laughing at the Brewers, just laughing at what Matt Arnold keeps doing to maintain his team's edge over the Cubs and the Cardinals, who up until last year were the Cardinals. You know, the Cardinals and the Cubs have outspent the Brewers in a big, big way on payroll, going back to like 2018. And yet the Brewers have taken control of this division with their small payroll. Well, they're at it again. They've created new positions on the coaching staff for 2026. Matt Arnold, who runs the operation, they've added a pitching coordinator. They have added an offensive strategy coordinator. They have added a field coordinator. They have added a game preparation specialist. They have a new lead hitting coach, a new base running coach. They've added more to the pitching coach area. But interestingly, they eliminated the bench coach position. The Brewers show that they can do more with less in terms of money. And, you know, just because a fool said, well, they never won the World Series. Yeah. At some point, it'll catch up with you. If you're overachieving during the regular season, chances are that talent gap, and really created by the spending gap, it's going to catch up to you. The fact that the Brewers have taken over the NL Central has been a pretty amazing story. Well, they're at it again. because now they've put together a coaching staff that I'm not sure any team in Major League Baseball has right now. I mean, the Milwaukee Brewers have gone to an NFL style operation in terms of coaches. I think it's hysterical. And all of this despite winning 97 games last season and getting to the NLCS, where, of course, the Dodgers kicked their ass because that's what the Dodgers do. Now, listen, the Cardinals aren't there yet in terms of these big, huge, sprawling coaching staffs, but they're going to be heading that way under Chaim Bloom. And in time, Oli Marmol is going to be running an expanded coaching staff and dealing with a lot more people at the field level. And, there's going to be advanced specialists in specific areas. And Oli is a forward-thinking dude, but I think he's going to welcome that at first. But listen, managers by nature tend to be very insecure. When a coaching staff becomes a committee, and not only it's just a coaching staff committee, then you have the front office leadership participate in the planning sessions and the adaptation process about how a team has to evolve throughout the season. The manager suddenly is going to be surrounded by a lot of people who have ideas and they have information and they have opinions and they have recommendations. And the manager won't be able to just easily blow off all this stuff. He's going to have to fit in, and he is going to have to put the information to use, and he's going to have to welcome the participation of others, because this is not going to be a one-man show. So how is Oli Marmol going to handle it? He's developed a good relationship with Bloom, and Marmol knows exactly what Bloom believes in and what Bloom wants to see. And Oli's got a great idea of what Bloom is going to try to do and what Bloom expects from the manager. So Oli has a head start in adapting to this new way. But once again, as I laugh at this idea that Marmol was a puppet under John Mozeliak. Well, how do you know that? Well, I just know that he is. Okay. Gotcha. Marmol is, the truth of the matter is he's used to pretty much being left alone and having autonomy with John Mozeliak as the boss. Them days is over, because now Marmol will be closely monitored in several areas where he never was really monitored all that much before. He is going to be monitored from every direction going forward. I will explain after my second time out. Fellas, it is BlueChew time. You already know what time it is. It's time to rise on up. Yep. And BlueChew will help you out with the rest with an exciting new product to enhance performance in the most important room, arguably in your home. And you know what room that is. BlueChew Gold is the newest innovation from the number one chewable ED brand, and this new option is setting the gold standard for performance. BlueChew Gold has additional ingredients for increased blood flow for launching your rocket. And once you get that rocket launched, you're going to enjoy the ride. BlueChew Gold dissolves under your tongue, works in as little as 15 minutes. That means you can get busy quicker and stay in the game longer. This is full passion and peak performance in a single tablet. I'm going to put it this way. The next time she sends you one of those, hey, are you up? One of those text messages, kind of has a wink to it. Just answer with a picture of BlueChew, and she will understand immediately. Game on. We've got a special deal for our audience. Get 10% off of your first month of BlueChew Gold with code Bernie. That is promo code Bernie. And visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. We thank BlueChew not only for helping the guys out, but for sponsoring the Bernie Show here on Sports Central. All right, welcome back to segment number 3. So let's get back to what I was talking about. Hey, Bernie, how will Oli Marmol be monitored by the new setup put in place by Chaim Bloom? What are you talking about? Okay. If the front office presents valuable information, and a lot of it, to Marmol that should be part of the approach for that night's game, how will Marmol handle that? Well, I would say he should handle it the way all the other good managers handle it. Welcome the information and any kind of thoughts that can help the Cardinals win a game. But will he embrace that information, or will he start to slowly turn paranoid and start kind of ignoring more and more of those recommendations? especially if he disagrees with some of them. If the Cardinals, number two, if the Cardinals have a brutal season, losing, say, 93, 94 games, I'd hope they wouldn't lose more than that, but you never know. How will Marmol deal with that adversity? Oli acknowledges that he didn't handle it very well at all back in 2023 when the Cardinals lost 91 games. So there is a question of how much or how well he will cope with another bad season in terms of record if it happens in 2026. First, the Cardinals are rebuilding. And even though they are rebuilding, that still puts a lot of pressure on the manager because young players and arriving prospects are vital, so very vital to the franchise's future. And Marmol's going to have to show that his leadership makes a difference in getting the young bloods ready to perform to their ability level instead of having setback after setback. And also he'll have to show that he can keep that team motivated and keep those young players feeling good and confident rather than letting them sort of become deflated, emotionally rocked and just kind of doubting themselves. I mean, this is a tough challenge when you have a young team. Yeah, they love to play, but they also haven't built up the resilience that some veterans do usually. All right, next, in addition to the heavy input from the front office operatives, Marmol's going to be working with the reorganized training and medical staff. And I have an idea about why that's going to be a lot different. The Cardinals have created a performance department for the first time, really. And once again, they're way behind the industry trend, but they finally have created, because Bloom showed up, created a performance department and Rob Cerfolio is also overseeing that, and he's a brilliant dude. So this performance department not only monitors like the physical stuff that, the physical training, what areas you have to work on, the body shaping, so on and so forth. But this performance department agenda also covers guidance on mental health, nutrition, sleeping habits, on and on and on. I don't think the priority for a Cardinals trainer, let me put it to you this way. Those of you who have regularly watched the TV games, I don't think the priority for a Cardinals trainer going forward will be every single game that's on TV, finding a way to get into that camera shot during the game so they can become frequent material for Chip and BT during the daily Chuckle Hut show. Nope, I don't think getting on TV during games will be the number one priority anymore. And this might matter because instead of like everybody down there laughing, oh, did you see what he did to get on TV this time? Yuck. Marmol's biggest weakness as a manager, in my opinion, is the tendency to capitulate to veteran players, especially the stars, who have some juice in terms of like impact and leading the other players or setting the example. I don't think Oli's custom of capitulating to veteran players, especially those which have some star juice, when they insist that they're going to play even when they are exhausted or they're hurting or they're nursing injuries and they really shouldn't be out there on the field. But they talk their way into the lineup when the manager should know better, in my opinion, and say, no, you got to take some time off. We got to get ahead of this injury before it becomes a Brendan, Donovan, Nolan Arenado thing where these guys say, no, I'm playing. Even though they're not physically capable of playing anything near to their best, but they talk their way into the lineup because Oli will not say no. And this also applies, I think, to Lars Nootbaar in 2025. He actually played a career-high number of games last season, even though, as we now know, the guy was in all kinds of pain playing on two heels. Both of them required surgery right after the season. I don't know. Was that smart to keep running him out there? Anyway, Cardinals managers, Oli ain't the only one. Schilt did this a lot too. They back away from the star players when the star players say, I want to do this, or we think you should do that. And Matheny and Schilt and Marmol, too easily have accommodated the veterans' requests. But it's time to put an end to the hero worship and the preferential treatment. I am adamant about that. No one else will say it, but I'm happy to say it because it bugs me. And I'm a guy that I think generally is supportive of Oli Marmol, at least supportive in terms of asinine, borderline irrational criticism. All right, next on my list, Marmol curated a positive clubhouse environment, but a lot of that had to do with keeping those influential veterans happy. And the landscape is a changing with more and more young talent on the way to St. Louis. Marmol will have to raise the standards and reset the parameters. The young players can't be allowed to do what they want. They can't look to the veterans and say, well, around here, you can go in there and complain and you'll get put in the lineup. Young players don't need that example set for them, and they can't have the manager be so kind of roll over just because a young player has some strong feelings about what he should or shouldn't be doing. And, young players should not be allowed to sulk when they don't get their way or when they're not playing as much as they like. And part of that will be Marmol taking charge and jumping on them if they aren't hustling or they're pouting or they're kind of going off on their own after there is a game plan set up to attack an opposing pitcher and they go off on their own and stray from that plan. This will be a challenge for him as well. Next, I don't blame Marmol for emphasizing defense because good defenses can save runs for marginal starting pitchers. But as more talent flows to St. Louis, at some point, the offense cannot be repeatedly set aside to dramatically prioritize good defensive players who are lousy hitters and aren't improving as hitters. And I would say a candidate for that, maybe in 2026, maybe Victor Scott. If he still is one of the worst hitters in baseball, maybe he won't play as much in center field, even though he is as good defensively as you'd want a guy to be. And even though he can steal bases, about the only one. But at some point, offense has got to take a little bit more of a priority. Another area where Marmol and the coaches must improve is cultivating a better approach to base running and stealing bases, using a smarter hitting approach that salvages at bats because you advance runners on productive outs instead of striking out or trying to bomb home runs when it's 0-2 or 1-2 in the count. According to Fangraphs, in the 2025 Cardinals ranked 24th among the 30 teams in effective base running last season. And over the last 3 seasons, beginning with 2023, they're 22nd in the majors in base running. That's not good. And there's no excuse for that. Just because the Cardinals are rebuilding, they still must do what they can do to improve within. And you can always control if you're the manager. Even if your talent's not up to the level of a championship or even a postseason contender, I don't care who the player is, there are always ways to make him better and improve within. And Marmol and his staff are going to have to be really on top of it, which I think is okay because I think Marmol is a good teacher. That's kind of his background as far as baseball instruction, things like that. He worked his way up through the minor leagues doing that until it was time to manage in the minor leagues. But they're going to have to teach young talents how to play the game the right way. And they're going to have to correct things on the fly. They're going to have to stay on it. So Oli Marmol is actually going to have even more responsibility in overseeing a rebuilding team with all this stuff going on that wasn't there before. And that's why I say the pressure is on. No doubt the pressure is on, even if there isn't as much pressure, not nearly as much pressure to win right away because it's a rebuilding season. That'll do it for me today. Thank you, as always, for watching The Bernie Show here on STL Sports Central. Have a good rest of your Wednesday.